next on the reaction review.
Question number 1.
Okay.
Have you seen the new Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Wait, what? What?
Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Will it really matter? I'm going to show you exactly how the developers for X-Plane, Laminar Research, feel about Microsoft's 2020 Flight Simulator. Not my words, it's going to be their words entirely. A small portion of the developers for Laminar Research are in Austin Mars' living room. Every 9 months or so he gathers some of his developers around in his house and they have a chat and a live stream about the future of X-Plane 11, and this is just one of those streams. Please be aware that my opinions are just thoughts. We're just investigating what's going to happen and trying to predict the future as much as one can. Well, the only way you can predict the future is by looking at the past, and that's exactly where we're going to go. These are images of Microsoft Flight Simulator back in 2002. I think it actually came out in 2001. Okay, so great. I had all my aircraft, I was flying along, I had a reasonably good PC at the time for Microsoft 2002, and I was happily playing it all the time, flying around, getting to know it, and it ran reasonably well. And then this happened. It just appeared in the shops one day. Surprise! There was no media out like we have now on YouTube, etc. But Microsoft Flight Simulator 2004, I couldn't believe it. I was so excited I ran straight to the shops to buy a copy. I got home, I installed it, and it ran like a pig. It ran like this. It was like 2 frames a second, and I was really annoyed that it wouldn't work properly. And look, this is the way it went for all the versions of all the new flight simulators that came out all the time, and I constantly had to upgrade my PC every year if I had the money even. So yeah, it was a big problem back then, but now things are a little bit less painful. In as much as PCs do, they actually last a little bit longer. Now, most of my subscribers will say, oh, it's not going to run, I have no internet access to run their new fancy software, algorithms, etc. to download all the scenery from the web. That is partially true. I've always found with every new flight simulator, back in the day now, that I just have to dull down the graphics. I just had to dull them down and live with it. And maybe a year or two later, if I was lucky enough, I'd have a new PC and then I'd get back into it again and all the world was new. Happy days. Now, with regards to Microsoft 2020, I would imagine they're going to have it for a reasonably high spec PC. It's going to run on 1070, I'm guessing, quite well. I would imagine, as I found out in my previous video about Microsoft, that they had their demos running on a i9 processor with a 2080i graphics card. So yeah, it's going to be high spec, I reckon. They do have you don't have to have an incredibly high rated broadband because you can download it. You can download the parts of the scenery that you want in your area, if you like, where you want to fly. It's just a matter of disk space, and the good news today is disk space is quite cheap, really, comparatively, than when it used to be even 5-6 years ago. But having said that, have they designed their whole flight simulator differently in order to take the full advantage of your processing power of your computer, which most flight simulators do not, by the way? But here's a note. Look at this. Look, X-Box. What the hell? What's this? At the beginning and at the end of every trailer they send, they have this. Woo, whoosh. X-Box. X-Box. Flight simulator for X-Box. It's not going to run on the current X-Box. No, it's not, because it's not out till 2020. And as I said in my previous video, I have a theory. I think I'm pretty accurate in saying this, that this is going to come out for the new Xbox as well as the PC. And we all know Xboxes are nowhere near as powerful than most mid-range PCs, right? So they must have done something very clever. Now, let's have a look at their new Xbox now and divert again away from what I originally started to talk about. But don't worry, I'm going to finish where I started. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 will also be running on next year's Xbox. This is Project Scarlet. Let's have a look and investigate and see what they have to say. Whoosh!
When we think about the future of gaming, it's not just PC, it's not just console, it's not just mobile, it's really all of the above.
This generation is going to be a bigger leap than any generation we've done before.
At the heart of our next generation console is our custom design processor, leveraging the latest Zen 2 and Navi technology from our partners at AMD. From a pure processing perspective, this is 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One X. We're leveraging high bandwidth GDDR6 to ensure that we're getting the best performance possible.
It's going to usher in resolution and frame rates that we've never seen before. Like, never seen before.
We're looking at frame rates up to 120 frames per second.
8K capability.
Variable refresh rate.
Next-gen ray tracing. It's real time because it's hardware accelerated for the first time ever.
What I'm personally most excited about is the SSD.
We've created a new generation of SSDs. We're actually using the SSD as virtual RAM.
We're seeing more than 40 times performance increases over the current generation.
The combination of the SoC and the solid-state drive are really what gives you a totally new experience.
Now we can take all of that power and apply it back into the scene, so we can actually generate more life in that world and bring it to the gamer in a seamless way.
So that then you're fully experiencing what the game developer wants you to experience.
When you can move through worlds without waiting for screens to load, that speed, that performance is what the next generation is about.
This is the most immersive console experience ever.
What we really want to do is give developers the power to build the game they've always envisioned.
We have hundreds of people across both our first-party studios as well as our third-party studios working on those next-generation experiences today.
There's an amazing commitment to content at X-Box Game Studios. There's 13 studios, 7 in the last year. That's a big family.
At 343, for us it's always about more seamless worlds. With the next generation, we can bring the world to life in a way we've never experienced Halo before.
We're delivering 4 generations of content better than you've ever seen them before.
This console is especially awesome for Game Pass members. With the faster load times, you're going to be able to experience all the games within just a snap of your fingers.
We're giving gamers the option to connect across devices and across platforms in a way that we never were able to before.
I don't lose my last generation as I move into the next generation, the people I play with and the games that I want to play. That experience should be continuous and always growing.
This isn't just a console launch. This is about the future of gaming.
Your games, your achievements, your progression, your accessories, your console gaming experience with Xbox, it all comes forward with Scarlett.
I think it's pretty obvious to you and to me that the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 will be out on the next gen Xbox. That'll be the Xbox for Project Scarlett, which gets me to thinking, usually consoles are a little bit less spec than a PC, okay? So if they're running this off a console, there's a bit of hope here for mid-range PCs for this to run on. That's just what I'm thinking. So I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. And it's not going to be, by the way, the developers say, by the way, because I get this question a lot, the developers did say that they do not want this to be a subscription-based service in any way, shape or form. So whether the suits upstairs in Microsoft change that, it's anybody's guess. In my last Microsoft 2020 video, I got an awful lot of comments with people saying, oh God, P3D have had it, X-Plane have had it, FSX have had it, and it's all over for them. It's all going to be Microsoft 2020. Nothing else matters now. And they're going, oh, the add-ons I bought, they won't transfer over, etc., etc. Well, don't give up just yet, because when Microsoft 2020 comes out, it won't have all the airplanes you have in your other flight simulators. It won't have all the other add-ons you have in the flight simulators. Yes, you'll probably play 2020, of course you will, but you'll revert back, just like I did back in the day, to my older flight simulator, and over time, you kind of transfer over to the latest. But I think this is a very good thing with Microsoft 2020 because, yes, the others may look old for a period, but this is going to light a fire under their ass and they're going to start improving what they have already. They're going to try and compete and this is going to blow up. Now, when I mean up, in a good way, it's going to expand the whole genre for flight simulators. Also in 2020, not only the Xbox, new Microsoft 2020, X-Plane I think are making some plans, and this movie is going to look brilliant in 2020 and everyone's going to be buying DCS World for the FA-18 Hornet. Let's have Ramcat and the FA-18 Hornet. And guess where they're going to go? They're going to go to DCS World. And DCS World, as you all know, is the best combat flight simulator. Moreover, X-Plane also has the FA-18, so, good for them too. I don't know now if Microsoft will, but God, it'll look great. Anyway, let's go back to where we started and let's have a look at the Laminar team's X-Plane 11 response to Microsoft 2020.
All right, Laminar Research. We're having my once every 9 months meeting at my house, Columbia, South Carolina. Austin Meyer here with about what do you call this? A third of the dev team, half the dev team,
about a third now.
About a third, and we are planning our next planning our next 9 months to a year. And while we're all together, we do a little live stream.
So Thompson has.
But then near the end, let's play it fast and loose and take a little risk and grab a few live ones.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
You live on the edge. All right.
Second delay ones.
Yeah, it's fine. All right, so should we just go?
Question number 1.
Okay.
Have you seen the new Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Wait, what?
What?
I didn't know there was one. Are they coming back?
The internet says that it's coming back.
Wait,
No.
Microsoft.
Oh, that little Seattle company.
Yeah. They have flights in, then they didn't, and they haven't. Yeah.
I think this is one of the reasons why we wanted to have the live feed, because we have gotten this question asked a lot, and at some point we have to say something about Microsoft Flight Sim. We have seen it. We don't have any information about it that you don't have, because we're not beta testers, or we don't have any early access to it. It was a surprise to us when we found out about it right after FS Expo last year. But we have seen it, and some of what we've seen looks really, really good. In some ways, this harkens back to how it used to be, because
X-Plane was born in 1995. That's X-Plane's birthday, basically. 1995, in the middle of Microsoft Flight Sim 95. And after that, it was for what? 98, 2000, 2002, 2004, 2006, Dovetail,
but for
Microsoft X, I think it's
for
2006.
For the first decade that I worked with Austin, we were competing against Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is what there was. There was another flight simulator, and sometimes they innovated and pushed the bar of flight simulation, and we would try to push X-Plane as far as we could, and we wanted to be better, but we also wanted it to be the best flight simulator it could possibly be.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
So in some ways, this is a return to roots.
It is a return to roots. It's absolutely a return to the roots.
It definitely makes things more difficult for me personally, because it makes things more complex. But I think it's good for flight simulation.
It's called competition and capitalism. I don't think it's the first time it's happened.
Right. It's going to move.
And so now we're moving with more of a steely-eyed determination rather than let's just do whatever seems cool to us. Now we're really focused on how we deliver a sim that meets the needs of the marketplace. So it's the environment X-Plane was born in. It's called capitalism. It's good for the industry. It's good for every single person watching this camera right now. And ultimately, it's going to be good for us because we're going to deliver a better sim because we're going to work that much harder. So there's nothing about it that's bad. Absolutely nothing. It's going to be a great sim. It's going to give hundreds of thousands or millions of people a tremendous amount of fun, which is great.
And it's also, I think, going to bring people into flight simulation.
Yeah.
One thing that Microsoft can do that we cannot do is reach a larger audience with television ads and things.
Right.
And when Flight Sim was a concern back in the day, new users might come to Flight Sim and then they would discover X-Plane. So I think what we're going to see is Flight Sim as a community grow, which I think is good for people who like there to be vibrant Flight Sim.
And there's all sorts of inherent limitations in their business model, their company, and their marketing that don't apply to us. I mean, I will see them running on Macintosh, Linux, iPads, Androids, perhaps maybe not expanding into professional flight training. And we've got some stuff lined up for the next year we're not going to tell you about yet that is going to let the other shoe drop in terms of what's about to happen over the next 12 months in flight simulation. So it's only going to get better from here. This is when the engines are really revving at the beginning of what's going to be an epic drag race. And there's no question both drag races are going to come screaming across that line. And that's what makes a good race. And it's fun for the drag racers too, not just the audience. So we're entering a renaissance here, I think, in flight simulation. We're just about to hit it. And I can see a renaissance both in aviation with electric VTOL, which I'm a part of, and a renaissance in flight simulation. The next 12 months is just going to be crazy, off-the-charts fun with stuff that we wouldn't have imagined, 6 months ago or a year ago. So I'm excited as heck. Excited as heck.
So does it really matter? Yes, it does, but in a good way, because obviously X-Plane are going to kind of There's a little fire been lit under their seats now, and they're going to have to work a little bit harder than they have been. They can't just cruise along anymore. So, and as I'm talking here, I'm thinking, well, all they've really got to do is improve the standard graphics, and they've got to improve the weather engine up to Microsoft levels, as so Microsoft say what they're going to have. That's all they have to do. They got everything else there. Now, also, I think, which is a big problem, with all the flight simulators, I'm talking about P3D, FSX and X-Plane. I treat them all evenly. All they've got to do is stop this nonsense of having these add-ons. Like I have on my videos, I have Reality XP. That's for the head shake, okay? Now, I know you can head shake for free, but it should be standard. It should just come with the flight simulator. Also, the sounds. They don't pay any attention to the sounds. Now, the only two of our basic senses we can use when we're simming is our vision and our hearing. That's all we can use. Okay, touch is fine, but that depends on your hardware. But they forget about the sound all the time. Now, for example, I was looking at an Airbus aircraft and it was $80. They brought that out, and then they brought out the sound engine for the same aircraft. So now that means it's $100 for that aircraft with the sound. The sound should be just as it is. It should just be good anyway. Why should we have to pay for sound? So these kind of little add-ons. I mean, also what I have in my videos is I have colour grading. I had to buy a package to colour grade X-Plane's world to make it just pop out a little bit more, because it's actually quite dull. They need to improve that. Why should I buy an add-on? So all these little details, I could write a huge list. I might make a video of it one day of what X-Plane could improve. In fact, let me know in the comments of what you think X-Plane need to improve, and I'll make a full video out of it. I promise you. I'll make a whole full feature video out of it. So also rain effects. You know, why do we have to pay? It comes with a certain aircraft. Why don't you just come with it as standard? All these little details make up a great simulator. But look, everything's going to improve, and I'm delighted that all these things are going to happen. I think 2020 is going to be a big, big year. The start of a great period of the flight sim genre. I think a lot of more new people are going to be brought into it, like the Tom Cruise, the movie you saw, and Microsoft 2020 and all these other things that are happening. So we'll be keeping an eye on X-Plane, seeing what they'll be coming up with. I'll keep you informed as always. Now, I did promise to you, seeing as you've watched to the end, you're hardcore, and I really appreciate you commenting, you guys. I've got about 500 or 600 people who watch the videos all the time. I hope my thoughts have met you well. I do comment, and thanks a million for watching. I did promise IL2 video this week. I'm going to make it for Wednesday now, because I just wanted to give you this news first about the X-Plane live Q&A and what they thought about Microsoft 2020. So I hope you have a good week. I will see you next week, probably Wednesday, I hope to God, with the IL2 video. And have a good week, and we'll see you next time on the reaction review. Yeah. IL2 next. I have to say, it was a really good response from Laminar Research. It's great. So we're going to have 2 brilliant sims coming up. Laminar is always a little bit better with the physics, I thought. Anyway, I don't want to be biased. Otherwise, stop that sound. Whoosh.